Hey chat. This is a little bit of a different video than what I normally make. I'm so used to making like predictions videos or scripted videos or whatever it be and editing it down and not really talking to the camera or whatever or the microphone. But I just wanted to come in here and like just comment on the state of like how this event went for me because to be honest, I think it was just an overall insane experience that I feel like I, really need to indulge in. And I needed a couple days to, understand kind of like what my mindset was going through and how it all went for me. I just want to start out by thanking Shalom and Finman for inviting me to participate in this Block Wars. This was an amazing experience, and I'm so incredibly grateful. Also, thank you to the BlockWars staff for putting this on and even allowing this to happen. That is amazing. And also, I'm going to start out with a thank you to my teammates, Callie, Gigi, Blue Moon, Chally. Like, I knew very little of you guys before the event. I'd swapped teams, and you guys were so welcoming, and you guys were so helpful, and the practice streams are great, and the vibes were great, and everything was amazing, and you guys were wonderful people. And I hope we really still continue to talk after this. I know our group chat has been kept active a little bit, which I think is really awesome. And yeah, I just hope we continue to stay friends and hang out after this. But going into Block Wars, my mindset was very, this is kind of my moment. Um, I've been in this scene. Oh God, my Twitch account was created January of 2021, or that's at least like the first time that I streamed. And so, give or take about 5 years ago is how long I've been streaming. Um, which is insane to me because I feel like it's been so much longer, but I've never really had a spotlight on me. I played PBU almost 3 years ago now, and that was amazing, and that was my first real step into the spotlight. But I don't think I ever really had like a oh my god, this is it moment, and I really felt like at least on the day that this Blockwords was going to be that. But I think it ended up being so much more than that. I expected this massive like eyes on me or everything, and I have to be this perfect kind of player and this kind of self to you know have a chance of doing anything ever again. And I think that mindset was just the wrong mindset, and I'm glad during the event that's not how it turned out to be, because I think if that was how it turned out to be, then I think my overall experience would be so much worse. I know a lot of people went into this, mega practicing and wanting to do their absolute best. And I think that for me, that's not exactly what I planned to do or ever did. Um, I practiced with my team. We did VOD review and stuff. But, I watched the bare minimum of what I said I would do. And I didn't stress myself out too much. And I feel like in the past, I've stressed myself out a lot by, over practicing and sneaking out. And my first PBU and even the PBs I played recently, I stressed myself out by, watching VODs and VODs and trying to be absolutely perfect. And what I'm glad I realized is I don't have to do that. Um, you know, I guess we'll go through like what I was thinking during each game if I can, remember the order. I don't have it sitting out in front of me. I think the first game was Order Up. And to be honest, this is probably the most stressful game that I played all day and the time without the most amount of stress. Um, this was the game my team VOD reviewed the most for and practiced the most for, and I think that led to me being really worried because I struggle with tasks and team games sometimes because there's so much going on, and I worried that I was going to underperform and not do my job. And there was constant like communications going about, and I wasn't sure I was getting everything, and I was brain farting constantly, and it was very stressful. But as a game, I think it was really good. I think I did the best that I could with how I was feeling, and overall my team did fine, and so I think in the grand scheme of things, I think I just need to be more confident in my knowledge of what I'm doing. And, you know, I think otherwise it was a really, great game. And it was a solid start of the event, although be very stressful. I think there was a point in the chat where, like, someone said the comms are so good that, like, I can't even tell what's happening. And that's kind of what I felt like during the whole thing. It was just kind of like, oh, yeah, that would be that would be correct. That is kind of how I felt too. Um and yeah, like, I think it was just very stressful, but it was definitely something I really enjoyed, and I'm really glad that I got to play Order Up. Um because I think it gave me a good perspective on how to handle games that I'm, not confident in. And, I think that's really important. Because, normally I go into events being really confident about, what I'm doing and what I'm playing. And Order Up was something that I was very unconfident about. And so, giving me a better perspective was very helpful. And it went out fine. So I think over worrying isn't that important. Anyways, I pulled up a VOD, not my VOD. Shout out Nerd Sky for having a readily available VOD. To I pulled it up on my phone on YouTube. Thank you, Nerd Sky. Uh, Next game up is Blitz Hunt. And I really enjoyed Blitz Hunt. I think, like Order Up, this is a very stressful game, but for a different reason, because there's so many times you can get jump scared and, like, panic. And I think the good thing about me is I don't panic in those kinds of situations. Um, I panic in a lot of other situations, but in kind of this kind of game, I don't really panic. And I think that's why I enjoyed Blitz Hunt so much, is and why I did so well is because I didn't panic. And, like, even when I knew there was a hider near me, I took my time, I breathed, and I, played it how I thought I should play it. And if I got tagged, so be it. It's not the end of the world. There's another round. And I think I did really well. Um, Tagging, I think, was a very interesting experience because, you see those clips in Blitz Hunt of, like, people just, getting like six people at once. And I didn't have that. I got like my three at the start, and then I spent the rest of the round running across the map for three other people, which I think was very interesting. But I still did very well, so I'm happy about that. But overall, I think this was a very, good game. Not much notes. Um, the next game was Extraction, and this is a game I have quite a lot of notes for because I think I was very overconfident about this game, kind of almost the opposite of Order Up. Like, I'd played this, so I'm friends with quite a lot of BlockWars testers, and I've been hanging out with them for a while now. And, they had like extraction kits on PvP Legacy, and I had always done quite well at that. And during our team practice, we did a little bit of extraction, and I did well in that too. Um, so I was very, proud of, like, how I was doing in practice, and kind of expected to do better than I did. Now, I did get a lot of damage in this game, which, it's fine. Like, I think I got a higher amount of damage for the way I played. But I think the problem was I didn't know positioning. And I guess that's part of the fact that the only game I really play is Minecraft. Um, I feel like a lot of other players, they play different games, they know how to position themselves, and this is a very unique game to most other games. And because of that, I was not prepared for how I needed to play. I think I played too aggressive at points, and that's why I didn't get any extractions and died really quickly most rounds. Um, I think this is a very hard game to learn, not mechanically, but, like, play style wise. Like, it's something you have to adapt to, and if you're not used to it, it becomes very hard. Um, and to be honest, I think I thought I was at the time being very, like, bummed out by, my performance in this. But like reflecting on this performance during extraction, I don't think it was actually, as bad as I thought it was at the time. And I think it was almost like a mindset that I had to go into the idea that I actually didn't do that bad and my team did do very well overall. And even if I personally, didn't get a ton of extractions, my team did, and we got wins. And, we overall did quite well enough for our standards. And I think, you know, I think I was a little hard on myself at the time, but, I performed how I wanted to, or at least close to it. And that's all that mattered. Um, you know, things happen, and I could have definitely played better, but, at the end of the day, things happen. I think the same thing can be said for the next game, which was race. I was playing very well at the start, and then I had a few like minor errors that like sent me back all the way down from like the fourth to 13th, I think. Um, which obviously is pretty disappointing. I was top of the leaderboard. If I didn't have a historical fumble, I probably would have been top 10 overall in the event, which would have been really cool to happen. But I think I was watching Bro09's video before this because he made a similar like commentary video, and I think he said it best. Like I needed to go in performing not for other people, but for myself. And when I play race games, I have a lot of pressure on myself to do well because I've historically been, quite good at race games. And I need to remember that 13th is still a really good performance, especially in this comp. And even if I have a couple fumbles, it's not that big of a deal. And my team still did really well in the game. And I still did really well. Like 13th is not a bad placement. And I think, you know, during the event, I was like, oh crap, I fucked up so bad. And it's like, well, you still got 13th. That's like higher than almost a fourth of the players. Or no, three-fourths of players. Like that's pretty much the top three-fourths. It's almost not quite, but like the point still stands. You still did really well, and I think I need to go into that perspective more. And um, I think that is what race taught me like after the fact. And overall, I still just did really well, and I think I didn't really totally realize this, but I think I did kind of realize this that like my job wasn't to get top four like how I was doing at the start. My job was to get a solid placement, and I did exactly what I needed to do, and I did what I wanted to do for myself, which was I believe I said top 15 race, and I got 13th, and that's really good, especially in the comp. So no notes on that. And we have a little bit of a break, which is fine. And then Spleef. Spleef was your standard Spleef game. Over Spleef was your very standard Spleef game. And to be honest, I don't really have many notes about this. I think positioning for Spleef is very hard, and I agree with a lot of the players that, Spleef is a very RNG game. Either, you have good positioning, you get good placement, or you don't, and you get Spleef kills or you don't. And it's kind of luck. And I don't think I could have done anything better here, and I don't think this game killed my morale. I don't even like I didn't do horrible, but I didn't do great in the game. But I don't think I realized that. Like I think I just thought I did fine, and I don't think I let the spleef affect me at all. Which I think is how I should be thinking about games like Spleef or RNG type games where I don't have a lot of control over how I personally do in the game. It's more around how others react around me. I think I need to come into the perspective with it's okay, I can do bad if that happens. And I think I did that, and I'm very proud of myself for that. Then battle, obviously my team won all 3 rounds, so I have pretty good things to say about battle. I will say communication in battle is very important, and I think that's probably the reason my team didn't get as many points as we easily could have. Like, obviously, yeah, we won all 3 rounds. Of course, we're getting a lot of points, but I think it could have been more. But I think most of the time, me and my teammates were just kind of yelling over each other, and we didn't have like one significant IGL in the fact of like one person we were listening to all together. But I think like we did fine. Obviously, we didn't get very many capture points, which I think are a big part of the game, as AGX mentioned during his like live commentary. We didn't do very well in that aspect, and I think that's still an important part of the game. But I think that also had to do with the fact of our communication skills. Like I think we were very loud, and that meant we were getting and jumping into fights pretty easily, which is why we got so many kills. But I think in terms of like capture points, you need to work together, and it felt like we were all playing our own separate games during parts of the battle, which is why I don't think we got as many as we could have. But it happens. Um, Overall, the game still went really well. I still think it's very funny that despite how many VODs we watched, the third round, we still forgot to pick our kits. Like, I was telling myself in my head the whole time, pick your damn kit. Remember to pick your kit. And then I forgot to pick my kit for the third round. And it was so funny. I still think I did fine with that kit. I struggled for sure, but because I was saying this up leading up to the event. I'm not a healer, never been a healer, don't understand how to play healer. Um, and that's the reason I wasn't on a healer kit mainly. And so when I got put on a healer kit, it was, to say, very stressful, and I didn't totally understand it. But I think this team still did well. I will say it's quite unfortunate. The first and the third round, I got knocked off the second that final border hit. Like I got tapped. I was the first one dead. I got tapped in. Um, GG comments it on his like rewatch of the VOD that it's like, oh, Red got tapped in instantly by Mart. And I'm like, yeah, I did. It was very stressful. But, I still think I did really well in the overall game. 2 kills. I'm not a PvP player, never claimed to be. So that's overall good. The next game was Trailblazers. And I have basically no notes for this game. I think I played it to the way I wanted it to play. I did exactly what I wanted to do. My goal was to get all the intermediate and expert parkours, try the droppers, get all the elytras done, the intermediate and expert elytra. And I did that. I did what I wanted to do. I got all my gold courses. I did exactly how I wanted to play, and I did good. And I think, to be honest, there's not much more I could have done. I think I probably could have been a little bit faster on the parkours. But at the end of the day, I hit all my goals, and I got 7th in the game, and I'm really proud of that. Especially in a very high comp event, I think 7th is something to be proud of, and I think I was at the time, and I think I still am now. So the last game is Party, and Party is stressful because there's a lot, like Spleef, there's a lot of RNG to it. You have to get a good game rotation, which I don't think this was for me. And then you also have to, still perform. And like I said, struggled with Extraction. I think I struggled here in Photon for that exact same reason. Positioning just isn't my thing. And so, especially when you need to do it quickly. And, overall, I think that hindered me. I can't remember whether Spot or Crossfire was first, but I'll just talk about them both. Spot, I feel like I did pretty well. I'm a thumb shifter, so shifting is kind of hard for me, but I still feel like I did pretty okay. Getting a good amount of kills. I got top blocks placed, so I feel like I did overall pretty well in that game. Crossfire is just hard. It's reaction time based, very RNG. Sometimes you can just get screwed over and you can't do much about it. Which I think is unfortunate part of the game, but I think overall, not much notes there. And then Beep Test is kind of where I'm disappointed with myself. I failed some courses that I think easily I should have made because I wasn't failing like hard things. I was failing pretty easy things. And it was kind of like very disappointing, but I think overall, it happens. And, I couldn't do much more about it. I think it was kind of like a sour way to end off BlockWars, but overall, it's still fine. Now let's talk about like overall placements. I got 11th, which is still really good. I was predicted roughly as anywhere from like 19th to 26th, I think is where most predictions had me. So to get 11th was, to say I surpassed expectations, both others and my own, because I think I had myself at 19th as well. I definitely performed to high expectations, and Part of that is because my team did quite well, of course. But I think the other thing was I would just, I performed really well in the day and I did myself proud. And I think in reflection, I can see that more than when I could, at the time. And obviously, my team got second and made finale. We lost finale. And I think I really enjoyed the finale game. I think it was hard to. Part of the issues we had with battle came up earlier on in the game where we kind of were all doing our own thing and it was very cluttered comms. But I think individually I performed very well and I did the best I could. I had those 2 rounds where, I was kind of the lead in terms of shooting and I got, the team wipes and stuff. And, I think I did pretty well there. Unfortunately, we lost. I think Orange team was just a really strong team to begin with, and it would have been hard to beat them in any scenario. I think we did the best we could in that scenario, and GG's Orange team, to be honest, I know they worked really hard. They practiced a fair amount. And overall, they're just really good players, and so congratulations to them. I think my overall mindset leaving this is a couple things. So first of all, I think if I'm going in to a event similar to this in the future, I need to be okay with however I do. Um, I think I definitely had some pressure on myself to do very well, and I think you know some games I overperformed, some games I underperformed, and some games I performed exactly where I thought I was gonna perform. And I think putting less pressure on myself for something like this is something that I think would be important because even if I do worse, I need to be okay with that because it would just make events more fun. And overall, yeah, like I said, I still had a lot of fun. But I think I would have had more fun in the moment, like versus reflected fun, if, I, how do I say this? If I was less pressured on myself. Um, I think the second thing to note is how do I tell myself that you deserve this opportunity? I kind of broke down at the end of stream. Not really, but a little bit. I was almost crying because, obviously many people know that I've wanted to play BlockWars for years now. Um, and this very well may be my one and only. um I hope I get invited back in the future. I hope I get to play a BlockWars in the future, whether it be an invitational, origins, whatever. I hope I get another opportunity, but I also know that this might very well be my one and only. And I started getting upset because I was so proud of myself, and I was so thankful and grateful for this opportunity. And I think, how do I, represent that in a way that is clear, Um, because I think I just wasn't clear enough to the people around me that I was so grateful for this opportunity until that very end of stream. I don't know where I'm really going with this. This is really just a yap. But I am just genuinely so grateful for this opportunity, and I think I made the most of what I could based off my mindset. And I think for future opportunities like this, I just need to go in with that headset of just make the most of what you want to do with it. If you want to do well, don't put pressure on yourself, but still try to do well. If you want to have fun and screw around, do what you want to do with the event. Do the most of what you can, and just be thankful for everything that you have. Um, I just want to give one, final thank you to, Finman and Shalom for inviting me, BlockWars for hosting, my teammates for being really amazing and really awesome, and, the other people in this roster for giving me a great first BlockWars experience. I may or may not do more of these commentaries in the future. I'm not sure. This was kind of a spur of the moment thing, and the BlockWars video is coming out. There is going to be a proper BlockWars video. But but this is just kind of like a commentary and stuff. And yeah, I mean, this may or may not be my only commentary video. But yeah, enjoy.